This is TWiT.
Well, Finland's F-Secure last week verified an accusation made by some users of some Xiaomi smartphones that the phone was phoning home like ET and secretly sending data back to servers in China. Now the company has explained itself and issued a patch. Here to tell us all about it, Skyping in from Beijing, China, is Richard Lai, the editor-in-chief for the Chinese version of Engadget. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here now. Before we get started, what time is it there in Beijing?
It's 1:42 a.m. and I think the bed's waiting for me.
Yeah, you're a trooper, and apologies to both you and the bed. We appreciate you hanging on. We're running a little late today, so we especially appreciate it. Now, what data were these phones sending back to China, and why were they doing it?
So this is part of Xiaomi's so-called cloud messaging service. So it's a bit like Apple's iMessage service or any other instant messaging services that uses your, say, phone number as your identifier. So what happened with the Xiaomi system is that the phones were kind of quietly sending its IMEI number, which is the device identifier, as well as its phone number back to Xiaomi servers in Beijing. Now, the problem is when people originally found out about Xiaomi's phones sending some sort of data back to Beijing, Xiaomi's response was that this should only happen if you had enabled Xiaomi's own cloud service, which is part of its Android system called MIUI or MIUI. But then later on, as you mentioned just now, F-Secure bought a brand new Redmi 1S, which is Xiaomi's budget phone, totally new. They didn't add any Google accounts or MIUI accounts into it, so it's meant to be totally clean. But then they managed to catch the phone still sending out those data I mentioned just now. So those two numbers, the IMEI number and the phone number. And another thing was, whenever the guys at F-Secure added new numbers to the address book, they also found out that the phone was also sending those phone numbers to the servers as well. And worse yet, they were not encrypted. So that was pretty much how F-Secure managed to sort of extract those data out very easily as well. So, but like you said just now, Xiaomi's already issued a patch that, well, first of all, encrypts the data right away. And secondly, it gives you the option to opt out of that cloud messaging service. So you finally, well, basically, it's now an opt-in service so that the phone, even if it's brand new, doesn't automatically send those data back to Beijing. So, yeah.
So Hugo Barra, executive at Xiaomi, has been very open about this, which I'm sure everybody appreciates. Which phones were sort of compromised by this problem, and how do users with those phones get the patch? What did he tell us about that?
I think it's pretty much any phone sold by Xiaomi, I think, especially if it's running on the version that supports cloud messaging. I think that's been the case for some time. It's just that it wasn't found out until recently. And obviously this kind of, all these small details starts to appear when a brand becomes very big. And I think according to the research firm called Canalys, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Xiaomi has recently in Q2 of this year, it became the top-selling smartphone in China. I mean, I tend not to take these figures, so seriously, or you can never tell if these numbers are totally reliable, but it says something, So, and obviously, when a name suddenly becomes big, then some people, like either the users or even the competitors, start digging up some dirt and make the big guys look bad. And I guess that's pretty much what happened with Xiaomi. That's actually caused quite a backlash in Hong Kong and Taiwan because, there's a bit of a let's just say, a political tension over there recently between those two regions and mainland China. So I guess they become even picky, even more sensitive with this kind of issue.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Richard Lai writes at engadget.com. You can follow him on Twitter. Richard Lai, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Beijing, and go to bed and get some sleep, would you?
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Richard.